Chicago cops accused of having inappropriate sexual relationships with migrants, abusing their authority, and more. The Chicago Police Department says it is investigating an unspecified number. That means it's too many. An unspecified number of officers for misconduct following allegations they engaged in improper sexual relationships with newly arrived migrants. These allegations are under investigation with CPD's Bureau of Internal Affairs and the Civilian Office of Police Accountability. A statement from the agency said it is unclear how many officers were involved or whether any disciplinary action has been taken. The allegations were first reported in the Chicago Times. Hundreds of migrants have been staying in city buildings over the past several months since being bused to Chicago after crossing the Mexican border in Texas. The buildings include Chicago police stations, where migrants have spent weeks living on the floors while a long-term solution is worked out. At one point, more than 70 migrant families were sleeping at the city's 12th District Police Station. In a statement to CNN, the Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson's office said it was aware of the investigation. Quote, the city takes these allegations as well as the care and well-being of all residents and new arrivals very seriously. We are monitoring the situation closely, but cannot comment further as this is the subject of an ongoing investigation by the Bureau of Internal Affairs and the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, according to the statement. Let's put up Karina Ayala Barmejo, president and CEO of the nonprofit Instituto del Progreso Latino, said housing migrants and asylum seekers in police stations were and was never a long-term solution, end quote, and urged city officials to proceed with increased urgency towards resettlement as soon as possible. These families need stability, safety, dignity, and respect, she said via email, adding that people who have experienced the trauma and are fleeing persecution are at an increased risk of abuses of all types. And let me remind everybody that asylum seekers, that is a legal, constitutionally protected category of entry into the United States of America. And they are in Chicago because of the ridiculous politics of Texas, all right? But keep in mind, when a state, when a governor, when a senator decides to be adversarial to the dynamic of asylum seeking, it is contrary to the code of America. It is antithetical to America. There's more. Let's put them up. We've seen this clown before. This is John Catanzaro Jr., president of the Fraternal Order of Police, Chicago Lodge number 7. Said at this point, there is no validity to the complaints he called ridiculous, baseless allegations, end quote. There's an investigation of an allegation, period, he told CNN. He then described the migrant crisis in the city as a surreal circus that has turned police stations into playgrounds. I've seen bouncy horses outside police stations, he said. The solution really is to find an actual shelter and put these migrants in an area where someone can actually, address their needs, end quote. First Deputy Chief Administrator Ephraim Edie, let's put him up, the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, all right? This is a police oversight agency. They released a statement to CNN Friday that said, in part, and I quote, yesterday, the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, COPA, learned of sexual misconduct allegation involving officers of the Chicago Police Department assigned to the 10th District and a migrant temporarily housed at the police station. While COPA investigators are currently determining whether the facts and details of this allegation are substantiated, we want to assure the public that all allegations of this nature are of the highest priority, and COPA will move swiftly to address any misconduct by those involved. Now, I need to say this for those in Chicago who are trying to front lean the narrative in the way that it should be. Make sure your information gets to COPA. They just gave you a gem. Some people didn't catch it. COPA is saying we have allegation of one misconduct complaint. We are open for all of them. He just said that in a statement. Go back, look at it. So make sure that the multiple complaints that do exist, because the police department has already said it is an unspecified number. And we are not aware if discipline has happened or not to the officers that may have been involved. It is plural. COPA is telling you they have one complaint. Fix that. All right, Sharon, thoughts here.
Yeah, and I don't know why we're talking about internal discipline, because it sounds like charges could be warranted in this case. And the FOP president, when he says it didn't happen, whatever, now we know it did. Okay, this is the same president that said, if you take a knee in support of Black Lives Matter, you're out of the lodge, okay? And I take issue with, this whole thing where we can't make any statements and it's under investigation. The media should have been all over it. They make statements all the time on pending cases.
That's right.
This definitely needs to be one of them.
Sharon, you make such a compelling point. How many times have we seen mayors, police chiefs hold press conferences when a person has simply been arrested, or maybe they are being investigated, or there's a grand jury indictment? They will tell you what their narrative is. They will tell you their why. They will tell you why they are willing to prosecute. But all of a sudden, when it comes to corrupt cops, nobody's talking. Doesn't make sense to me.